Thank you, Christina. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, good evening, there where you are. It is a wet morning here in Vancouver, but it is beautiful. It's not cold, so I want to welcome you to this meeting. Yesterday we had our steering committee meeting, and it was a very good meeting. The reason being that we had excellent reports coming in from all the partners, and we could therefore prepare an excellent report. The steering committee, as you know, is consisting of the senior management here at the Commonwealth of Learning, as well as the two team leaders for the two sectors, the education and the livelihood sector, as well as a representative from the Canadian government, Global Affairs Canada. One thing that came out during the meeting, which I want to share with you right away in the beginning, because if we find that we need this, we will definitely write to some of you today. We are preparing our report for the Canadian government, and one of the things that they are very much interested in is to see what is happening within our communities. Do we already observe some changes in regard to the community's perception? And when we do we have evidence of that? Do we have stories that can support that? Yesterday in the meeting, I had 2 or 3 examples, excellent examples, from Pakistan, Mozambique, and Bangladesh, where we could see how community involvement supported changes towards girls, the attitudes towards girls, but also the support for girls, but also specifically in Bangladesh, contributing to ending a decision to take a girl to marriage, and where that decision was now delayed. So those stories they are very much interested in, so we were thinking of having a section where we can place these stories about community engagement and how it changed. So we know that you have all done community stories, but it wasn't shared with us. So those of you who have shared it, we may not ask you again, but some of you who haven't shared such stories, we may write to you. So with that, I want to welcome you to this meeting. We hope to keep it within the hour. Very exciting discussion, I hope, that we will now see in the roundtable. Christina has put on the agenda for us to have in the roundtable one highlight or one story or one idea or one challenge you have had while preparing your story on a girl. And I think the reason why we're also asking this is some of you, after last time's discussion that you will share, you have shared indeed, but some of you has yet to share. The some of you who have shared was Mozambique, who excitingly shared with us stories. And so we are hoping to hear more. I think at that meeting, Christina shared with you also the timeline for stories. So I think she will also reflect on whether she has received the stories during those specific weeks from the specific partner. With that, I'll hand back to Christina.
Yeah, sure. So I just wanted for us to share any of the challenges or positive outcomes of collecting these stories, which hopefully will help us better understand, why it can be difficult to get these resources and how we can help you, as well as for all of you to hear. And I know so far everyone has been able to follow the schedule, which is really great, and I really appreciate getting the stories from you. So first up is Aruj. So I'm wondering if you can start by sharing one highlight or challenge you had while getting your story. Oh, Aruj, are you able to respond? Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Hi everyone. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I have shared the story of Ramsha on Community of Practice. You will have seen that. It's the story of the girl who survived a lot of abuse, every kind of abuse. In fact, we can say like it was sexual, it was physical, it was psychological, and she came over out from that. And there was not such a big challenge for us to get that story because we were already having a follow up on that girl. A new highlight is that her mother, now looking at the story of Ramsha, and when we went there and intervened and guided them against the child marriages, she is strongly willing to educate her rest of the daughters, as her younger daughter is also psychological, psychologically upset a little. So she was saying that she don't want her to get more worse than that, and she was getting her to the spiritual healers and others, and we guided her towards, slowly and gradually we asked her to take her younger daughter to the allopathic doctor as well, and so that and engage those girls in you can say recreational activities like education and other stuff, so that they won't get more psychologically disturbed. So I must say that it's really appreciable that looking at the story of Ramshan, when we intervened with our agenda, the mother and the father both are regretting Ramsha's marriage and not providing her with education. And they are so much willing to provide their two daughters education. And his father was so much pleased to have support and assistance from Bedari in this regard. So I must say that it's a good thing that two more girls are going to be safe from child marriage because of the struggle we are doing in the community.
Great. Thank you so much, Aruj, for sharing. And yeah, we got some really strong responses when we shared that story as well through social media and with our contacts. So thank you so much for sharing that. Helvia, you're up next. So I'm wondering if you can share kind of how far you are with getting your story and any challenges or highlights. Hi, Helvia, are you able to hear us and respond? Oh, it looks like she might be having difficulties. Okay, I'll go to the next person. So Maheen, would you be able to share one highlight or challenge from preparing your story?
Yeah. So I'm not so much of a challenge, but I'm currently working on one story on a girl who was in one of our vocational centers. She's recently graduated from the center and she's working in a beauty salon. So I'm going to be sharing her story soon. Just one problem, we haven't been able to get her picture. Actually, we do have her picture. We haven't been able to get the confirmation if we can share that picture on the blog, which is why I haven't posted it. So we haven't been able to get in touch with her because of the timing, and then one of our employees has just recently resigned. She was in contact with her, so that's a bit of a hurdle. We're trying to get in touch with her and seek her permission if we can share her picture. So I'll be doing that soon, and according to your instructions, we currently have another story from one of our employees. She works in the street children centers. I'll be sharing that soon also, hopefully by the next week or the week after.
Okay, perfect. That's so great to hear as well. And I definitely understand that getting the consent forms can sometimes be difficult. So we really appreciate all the follow-up that you're doing with that. Samuel, can you share next any highlights or challenges while trying to prepare a story? Samuel, are you able to respond?
No, we can't hear you, Samuel.
Oh, you can hear us. Sorry, Samuel, we can't hear you. I don't know if you want to, maybe is your microphone on?
maybe we can ask Helvia to speak, Christina, and then you can help him in the chat while Helvia is talking. Sorry, thank you.
Helvia, I know you're also having some difficulties. Are you able to share with us now?
Hello, Christine. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hi, Samuel. Welcome.
All right. It's the network. The network is a bit of a problem. Sorry for that. Now, as per the story that I was organizing, my challenge was the journalist that I wanted to interview to tell me his experience and about the lady and the young lady and the mother that he interviewed, and saw how the program was changing the society. But fortunately enough, we've agreed to meet next week on Monday, so I'm going to do the recording with him, and I should be able to submit my story as per the requested date. Again, I wanted to incorporate my team and get to hear their views, how this particular program has changed or influenced their lives in any way since we started doing the program. So that's what I intend to do, and hopefully I'll submit it next week on Thursday, on the 23rd of June.
Okay, great. I think Francis will respond to that later. But next, Helvia, I would like to hear from you a highlight or challenge on getting a story. Helvia, are you able to respond? Okay, it looks like she might still be having challenges. Francis, do you want to speak?
Yes, thank you, Christina. While we are trying to get Helvia speaking, Helvia, if you can hear me, the moment you speak, I will stop and allow you to speak. But you know how we normally advise, go out and come back in again. And yeah, I see you have done that. I want to thank you all for your responses so far on the stories. Helvia's up. Helvia, talk to us.
Yes. Hi, Francis. Hi, everybody. Francis, can you please repeat for me what is the point that we are talking about now?
You have to tell us about a highlight or a success story, idea, challenge you have had while preparing your story on a girl. Or just tell us about a story of a girl or a community member or of a staff member, the story that you are preparing to send to us.
We prepare a story about a girl who never went to school since he was born. So she have 20 about this project. She starts to learn. She went to the classes that we organized in her village. So we wrote a story about this girl, and we already have this. We will just before after the meeting.
All right, thanks so much, Helvia, and we look forward to having that story. Oh, I think your connection is in and out. Sorry, do you have more to say? No. All right, we'll try.
I'm sorry, I have so many difficulties to hear you.
Okay, no problem. Sorry. Thank you so much for sharing. And I believe I've asked you to share that story on our website by Friday, so I'll be in touch with you to make sure that happens, and we look forward to reading it. Francis, did you want to comment?
Yes, please. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, everybody, for sharing the stories. Helvia, I'm terribly sorry for the challenges you are experiencing with the internet. We are exploring another option at the next meeting, Cherise and Christina, I will write to you. We will test another platform to see whether we can bypass some of the challenges that we are experiencing with GoToMeeting. But in the meantime, we hope that we can work this out this morning. I want to respond to some of the stories, and I want to say to you all, you have to be very careful with the stories that you are sharing with us. The stories you share with us must be stories that's part of our project. You cannot share with us stories that has happened before our time or that's not part of our project. Even when you share it with us, we will not be able to use it in our reports, because when we report on our work, we report on stories that happened because of our work. So I want to advise you to be very careful not to send us stories welcome Z, I see you have joined us. Not to share with us stories that happened in another project, or because it is imperative that we are authentic with the stories, that the stories that we share are the stories that happened because of our work. I want to put that point there. So far we have received mostly such stories. When we did pick up that there is a story outside our remit, then I would have advised that we cannot use the story. But I don't think I have ever said it explicitly. I want to record it today that the stories that you sent must be stories from our work, not stories that happened before our work or because of other work. So I have noticed in the discussion so far that there may be a story that's not part of our work. So you have to go out and find our stories. Firstly. Secondly, I want to say to Maheen that the story about the mother, it would be nice if you can also speak to the mother and ask her permission and send us her story. Because as I've said in the beginning, we are now asked about the community and the changes within the community to support the girls. So while we still want the girls' stories, we still want that, it is also good to see the community stories. The board was, the steering committee was very much impressed with the story from Mozambique, which we presented this time as a feature story about, what's the name again?
Oh no, I forgot.
You can even help me with the name. Yes, the name.
Katiza.
Katiza from Mozambique story. It's a mother and her daughter was married as a child, and she has other daughters. But now this mother has become an activist in Mozambique in one of ADPP's communities. So those are the type of stories that's also very much of interest, because this mother is a community activist. She can change perceptions. And so I know that Progresso is also working very well with community activists. And so those type of stories together with the girl stories is good. Also, Maheen, you did say about permission for the pictures. That is another discussion that came up yesterday in another meeting. And this is relevant to you all. And when Maheen talked about it, I thought of mentioning it again. We also want to know, and you should write those type of challenges down for us. When parents or community leaders do not want you to share the story, you should also tell us, why do they not want to share the story? Are they afraid of something? Are they fear of some community leaders that may see the story? because we need to understand the context. We cannot force them, but we want to understand what are the type of reasons that community leaders or parents do not want to give permission for a story or a picture. So sometimes they don't want to give the picture. That I understand in a way. But if they don't want us to share the story, what are the reasons? And if they agree to share the story, you can also do and use a different name, not their real name, so that people and even the village, you don't have to say in which village if you experience such challenges. But we also want to understand what are the type of challenges you face when you ask for permission. The other thing I wanted to, who was it that talked about the staff member story? Mahim? Yeah. I'm excitingly looking forward to the staff member story. So those are some of the things I wanted to mention. But as I've said, we really want to hear also how the underlying changes in the community frames the changes within the girls. And we will have another session on that. In the meantime, I see Kuntal also joined us. Welcome, Kuntal. So I think this is what I wanted to say. So I will hand back to, before I hand back to Christina, this is the type of story also that we are interested in. In Bangladesh, what's his name? Afzal. Reported in their quarterly report of how they have stopped child marriages. So he shared with me yesterday after I wanted more information, which was very much appreciated. Thank you so much. On how exactly did they go about to do it, and how did it change? And he explained to me that the girl, when she heard she had to get married, she told her friends, oh, Kuntal, welcome from Vietnam. When the girls realized that their friend doesn't want to get married, they spoke to the facilitator. They went to the community local government officer, and there was pressure put on the parents, etc., etc. So those type of interaction, that storyline is also important to us. What exactly happened? It's easy to say, yeah, we stopped it. How did we stop it? Because you in Pakistan have done that, and people in India can learn from that. In Bangladesh, they have done this, and people in Mozambique can learn from. So it's important also that you give a little bit more information as to what is it that happened, that the change took place, or that the marriage was stopped. We have the example from Bendari where they took the tale of two marriages, and where Safir and Rafat explained to us, they showed the video to the parents, they discussed it, and after that the decision was changed. So that stories are we looking for. With that, I'll hand back to Christina. Thank you so much.
Great. So I'm going to move on to the knowledge sharing part. So I want to go over the training manual that we have. So Francis has shared this with everyone on Basecamp, and I've also put it on the Girls Inspire website resource section, so it's publicly available there. So we're asking you as a communication focal point for your organization is just to let your colleagues know about it, specifically the ones that might not be in the office or on Basecamp as much. And we can kind of go through it. So it's a really great resource for procedures, and we're hoping you'll be able to take some of these things and use them for future projects, because they're not limited to just us. So here is our resource page on Girls Inspire. I'll just be here. One moment while it loads. Great, so you'll see that it has the more administrative side, so using all of the technology that we employ, so Skype, GoToMeeting, Basecamp, and Dropbox. And definitely, if you are aware of any new additions to your team, please point them in this direction as an overview of the technology they might be using. We're, of course, always here to answer any questions or assist, but this is really helpful just to get people familiar. There's also a in-depth section on monitoring and evaluation, which the M&E focal points in your organization will know about, but it's a very useful reference for future projects or if you're adding any individuals to your team. We've also included the communications points, so just our plan and expectations of your role and guidelines for using social media. And then also in the appendix, we have a lot of the other like consent forms. That's really important. You can find here as well. So the photo and video consent forms that we need and the guidelines that we use when we share that kind of media. So I'm going to encourage you to all look at it and really be the champion in your organization to get individuals to use it. Yeah, so there is a question that's asking, are we allowed to invite other colleagues from other projects implementing similar to ours as part of the community of practice? And the answer is definitely yes. We really are really happy to encourage anyone in similar projects or this line of work to get on board, because honestly, each of you has such unique experiences and skill sets that you can all learn from each other. And we really hope what we build out here is beyond just our project, but you can use it in future projects going forward. All right, so that's that. And I just actually wanted to turn towards a question we've come up a few times, which is the use of language. So obviously, for our community of practice and our communications, we are communicating in English. And I know that can be a barrier to some people in your organization from fully participating. So I wanted to turn it to the group and ask, you know, are you aware of any language barrier challenges? And do you think there's anything we can do to improve this, especially for the community of practice? So if you have any suggestions or ideas of how we can get more people involved and kind of overcome the language, that would be great. So I think the best way is we'll just do another round table on it. So Afzal, you're actually first. So if you're able to respond, is language a barrier for, you know, the people working on the project at CMES? And do you have any ideas how we could improve it?
Thank you, Christina. And the previous session with Sheris, with CMES, and with me and our newly appointed M&D focal person, Zerina, and she had shown us how we can translate the community of practice there regarding using blogs, forums, etc. And we can also see it in Bengali, and we have already shared about this with our field staff members, and they are trying to learn, in fact. And first of all, language is a barrier. Second of all, using technologies is also a barrier. So we are trying to develop the capacity of our staff members in this regard, not only regarding developing capacity in language, but also in technologies. And so we are planning to arrange an internal capacity building training that will include both linguistic aspects and also technological aspect. And I think continuous use of the platform and practice will really help us to use the community of practice platform really good. And Thank you. Christina.
Thank you so much, Afzal, for the response. That's really helpful. Aruj, you're next. So is language a barrier, and do you have any ideas of how we can make it more accessible?
Christina, as far as we are concerned, language is not such a barrier at Community of Practice. We are having a very comfortable environment over there, and English is like our second language, so we don't have much problems at Community of Practice regarding language.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for letting us know. Helvia, you're next, so hopefully it's working. Can you let us know if language is a barrier and how we might be able to make it more accessible? Helvia, are you able to respond?
Hello?
Hi.
Yes, yes.
Oh, Helvia, we can hear you. Please continue.
Okay. Christina, definitely for us, the language is a barrier. And we are always encouraging people, our staff, to attend the meeting. I think that you can see, for example, in the last webinar, we had 5 people from Progress. Even English
Helvia
is a barrier. After the meeting, we are trying to explain what the meeting was talking about, but it's a very hard work because this disencouraged our staff to attend the meetings. Even the people who are in the province, for example, they have so many stories, so many information to share. It's come, for example, some difficult to write in English, and it's a process to send to me, to translate, and you know that my translation is not so well. So English is definitely a barrier. I hope that I can find with another partners what solutions they use to overcome this situation. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Helvia, for the detailed answer. Yeah, it's really helpful for us to understand the challenge. Maheen, do you want to respond next? Is there a language barrier and any ideas on how to make it accessible?
Like Aruj said, English isn't so much of a barrier for us, and pretty much all the staff members have working knowledge of the language, so it's not really a barrier.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Mizzy, are you able to respond? Okay, Mizzy, I'll send. Oh.
Sorry. Hi, good afternoon, good morning. Yes, language is indeed a big barrier for me because I have to listen in English and then try to translate it to Portuguese. So most of the times it's time consuming, but it's also this stimulates the staff to use some of the resources because they are afraid of. But how we tried to manage that is encouraging them continuously. For example, today I invited Ru and Yolanda to just come and participate and listen so that when we finish this meeting, they can ask questions and I can follow up immediately after the training. Because if it stays 1 more day or 2 more days, it doesn't become solved for them. The second way that we are trying to also overcome the language barrier is using the circles of friends or colleagues that can speak English and are closer to the colleagues in Akala, so that we also use those people to be
great. Oh, sorry to cut you off, Mizzy. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, I think the connection isn't perfect, but thank you so much for sharing. Rafat, I see you've joined the meeting. Are you able to share, is there a language barrier challenge and any ideas on accessibility?
Hi everyone. No, as Anuj already has said, language is not a barrier for us. But when we send these resources, they are very useful resources on Girls Inspire, and we used to download them and share with our further team members to the fields. And like I just talked about Girl Safety Toolkit. It's a very useful resource, and when we go through this, we are making a presentation on this resource, and I'll present this presentation to my field staff so they can easily understand what we want to share with them. That is like it's a sort of mitigation for the language barrier if my field staff have. Otherwise, they can get things in English. Not a barrier as such for us.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much for that. Perfect. And Samuel, you're next. So is there a language barrier and any suggestions?
Fortunately for us, language is not much of a problem because most of my team members speak fairly good English. But accessibility is the problem when it comes to technology. You never know when the network is going to be running up and down, and all sorts of, how fast will it be, or when are you going to have the connection? Accessibility is much more of a challenge on our side.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much, Samuel, for the comment. Specifically for the partners in Mozambique, I know it's really difficult, so I'm going to try and do some research and see what kind of translation services are available, or if we can do things in a more audio way. So it's something we're aware of that we're going to try and work on. And of course on the website, I think you all know, but just to reinforce, there is if you go on the right-hand side, the purple button that says Translate, you can translate any of the page through Google Translation, which isn't always perfect, but it's definitely a step in the right direction to any language. Perfect. Kuntal, I see you're on the line. Do you want to comment in any way, any suggestions to improve accessibility?
Hey, how are you? Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. Well, accessibility is a problem. We faced it to a huge extent because of the physical distances and not having network. But then we kind of allocated the responsibility to somebody who's in the local branch of Mandeshi, so that we can collect and the data and then send it. So it was a hub and spoke kind of a model, which worked for us as far as to overcome the accessibility issues. But it was the other thing that really worked is a little WhatsApp group that we had, because that helped us. That helped the field implementers whenever they get network to share some videos, some information. So WhatsApp was a big boon for us. Otherwise, the hub and spoke model was the only possible way for us to overcome the accessibility issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kuntal. Francis, did you want to comment?
Yes, thank you so much, Kuntal. I'm not sure whether people have heard you properly, Kuntal, because in towards the middle to the end of your presentation, there was a very weak connection. But I did hear also that you talked about WhatsApp and the use of WhatsApp for the access to support those in the field when they struggle with access, that WhatsApp was the one that always worked. I want to also say to the partners that if you look on the screen now, because we have shared the screen on the community of practice here on the left, you will see that anything that is happening here you can share even on WhatsApp. So if you want to encourage your team members to come to the community of practice, one of the things you can do is to share with them via WhatsApp that you know whatever is on the Girls Inspire community of practice. You can share on Twitter, on Facebook and Google+. You can print anything off there, etc. So I want to thank Rafat for saying that she's going to make a presentation on the resource that we send out. And I want to encourage all of you as communications focal points to do the same. It is important that you share this as widely as possible. One of the things that we are saying, and Christina already mentioned it in her response, is that we want anybody, everybody, wherever they are, to have access to this. This is not a secretive document. This is a document that we want you to have to enhance your capacity beyond the Girls Inspire project. So if this helps you and strengthen your capacity in other project work with other partners, that is the type of thing we want to see, because one of our objectives in this project is to enhance the capacity of organizations. So your capacity is not only enhanced to work on our project. We mean with that, we want to enhance your capacity so that you can have this for as long as the organization exists. So please share this as widely as possible. Use this as a model and encourage your team members to use it. The other thing that I wanted to say is, as the communications focal point, it is your responsibility as one of your roles to be an advocate for the social media, also for the use of the platform like Girls Inspire. So I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but Rafat's discussion or response on the presentation triggered this question in me. And I was wondering, how many of you have made a presentation on the use of the community of practice to your teams at your workplace? And as I said, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. You know if you have done it, but if you have not done it, I also want to encourage you to make a presentation on the community of practice to your team members. Show them how to use it. Show them the translate button. Show them the benefits of using it. Because that is one way of encouraging them and motivating them to use this. We know access is a problem, so that is another thing altogether. But if you show them, Afzal did say, or was it Jirina? Afzal did say that after we have showed them all of this, they made a presentation to their team and they showed them, there's a translate button, this is how you can read this in Bengali. So there is this one example. So you can also do this with your team. And you know what? when you make the presentation, the screen doesn't have to be in English. As the presentation starts, you start it by translating it into your language. So if it is Afrikaans, which is my language in my country, it changed, and there you see, so you can make your presentation while using that language. You see the language is totally different now, and anything, there will be a few things that will remain in English for that is not possible to translate, but majority of the things you can change it immediately into that language. Okay, so I want to really encourage you to try and also make a presentation on this. Where is the English now? So yes, that is what I wanted to say about it. And when you send in stories and it is translated, maybe as a new idea, you can write down, translated from, like in the case of Mzi, I cannot just say translated from Portuguese to English. Maybe it's another language that story was told in, because there's different languages within your countries. So it is maybe a good idea as from now on, and if you have previous ones, that you write there, translated from this language to English. Because we want to also keep it authentic. If you want to say who translated it, that is also fine, but it will suffice if you just say translated from which language to which language. But we would really like to do that as we go forward. That is also advice that was given to us by our steering committee. Kuntal is writing something there. I hope you can all read what he's saying. Yes, he's explaining there what he said, which we couldn't hear. So he put it all in writing for all of us to read. Thank you, Christina.
Great. So that's actually the end of the agenda that I have planned. And we finished on time, so that's really great. So I think that's all from me. And we definitely encourage you to use the training manual a lot, and we hope it's useful. And I also wanted to say thank you to everyone that submitted their stories according to the schedule on time. We've been doing really fantastic, and I think social media use has been really increasing over the last 4 to 6 weeks, which we're really excited to see as well. So we really appreciate all the work that you've been doing, and hopefully we can all keep it going. So, Frances, did you have anything else?
Yes, I want to thank Christina for arranging this meeting and making sure, especially as she said, the past 6 weeks, the increased movement on social media by the partners, but also on Girls Inspire. The stories that she has shared on our social media is because of the partners' contribution, but also for the timetable she has set up. I think that works very well, because you are excited and you're actually exposed if you do not send in your story. Everybody knows whose turn it is. So there's a lot of excitement. We can also see how really there is a change in the practice for some of you, but for some of us there is still a lot that can be done. We do appreciate the challenges you experience, but just that little bit that you can do, can you just try and do that for us? To Kuntal, I also want to thank you for your continued support in this, and for continuing to making the contribution, because there's a lot that we can still learn from you that we didn't get out of you during the project. We also want to thank Mustafa for his participation and for contributing. And Mustafa, if there's anything that you want to share with us and send to us, also please do that. We also see you being active on our social media, sharing our posts, being an ardent supporter of Girls Inspire, taking our messages a bit further to your constituency that's following you. So thank you also for that. But in conclusion, maybe everybody would just like to say something and then in that same vein say goodbye so that we don't have to go back to say goodbye. So I'll give it back to Christina to take the round.
Yeah, so Afzal, you're up first. Any final comments?
Thank you, Christina, and thank you all for sharing their experiences. And I think the session was really very educative, and thank you all. Thank you, Christina.
Great, thank you so much. Aruj, any final comment from you?
Yeah, thank you so much, Christina and Francis, for such a great session. It is always nice to have these sessions, and I'm glad that we all could share our experiences and we could learn from each another. And according to Francis, I strongly believe that the stories must be from our project, because there is no point of sharing other stories to the community of practice which belongs to us. And one more thing, that this training manual we have shared with others as well, and we are looking forward to, bring a change in lives of as many people as we could through all the things through all the learnings we have through Girls Inspire. Thank you so much for this session, and thank you so much for the continued support.
Great, thank you so much, Aruj. Helvia, are you able to comment? I can see that you wrote something in the chat. Let me just look. Oh, perfect. Thanks for thank you. And no, maybe not. Kuntal, any final comment you would like to share? Perfect. Okay, I'll go to the next one. I think there's lots of internet challenges today. Maheen, any final comments?
Yeah, just thank you for the discussion. It was really useful, and I try to incorporate what Francis said, especially about the underlying community issues which impact the girls' position in the society, and I try to include those in our blog as well. So that was useful. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much. Mustafa, did you want to add a final comment?
Yes, Christina, actually, I was wanting to tell about the platform, COP platform. Actually, it is not offline, since without internet we cannot access there. So it's a challenge. So can we have, because most of the cases we are using the apps for email checking, Facebook, Twitter, we are using the apps. So is there any app for Girls Inspire? So if you can develop an app, so it will be good.
Maybe you can ask Sadia to make us an app free of charge. We will talk to Ishan and find out whether that's a possibility, but we're not sure. But maybe one never knows. We'll talk to Ishan. I think it's a challenge you're putting to us. We'll talk to Ishan.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mizzy, any final comments?
Just a million thank you. And I love the app for Girls Inspire.
All right, quite the challenge there. Rafat, any final comments?
It's always thank you from core of our heart. You are taking us to other level. We are having many programs in Bedari, but we are like more show off, like sort of my project is quite on Facebook, on internet, and on everywhere. We are projecting our Girls Inspire everywhere. It's so good, and the main force behind is you two. Thank you so much always.
Great, thanks so much for the kind words. And Samuel, any final comments?
Just like the idea of Girls Inspired app, I think it can really do a lot of changes. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I think that's everyone. Francis, did you have anything else?
No, I just want to thank you all, and I want to remind you just of what we have just discussed, and the stories of the community that I'm talking about, the story of the challenges. We will need. Cherise will write to you about it because she's working with me on the report first of all, and if she doesn't find it from Christina, then she will maybe write to you, or I will write to you, or Christina will write to you, because we are busy with that report now and we will need some more information in some sections. So I just want to remind you that if we ask you, then we cannot wait for next week. So those stories or those experiences that you have already, you'll have just to sit back and reflect on that. We don't expect you to go out there and find a new story. That is what I meant with some new information that we would like to put into the report that we sent to the Canadian government. But I really want to thank you, and I want to tell you that beautiful guide that you see and that you have, Christina is responsible for the design and layout of that. And when I page through it, I say, oh, we did a great job. But it wouldn't have looked so great if it wasn't with her skills. And we're very grateful for that and very proud of it. We did it in-house, and it looks great. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, everybody. Good evening, wherever you are. Good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. I'm going to end the recording, but as always, I will share it with you later today. Thank you so much.